I'm Dina Coburn, and this is Fun with Finances. Neil Godfrey is a woman who makes things happen, fills the gaps that exist, and is a trailblazer. A financial expert, she started her career at Chase Manhattan Bank and became one of the first female bankers in the industry. She then went to become president of the First Women's Bank, and when realizing there was no education for kids in finances, she opened a real bank for kids at FAO Schwartz in New York City. From there, she wrote books for parents and kids on financial literacy, but publishing companies were not interested. So she created a leveraged buyout of a publishing company with the guarantee that they would publish her first book, Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. Neil, it's an understatement to say that you make things happen. Tell me about your early years at Chase, becoming a trailblazer. You created change. Where did you get that passion from?
Well, you're sweet, and it's great to be here with you, Dina. I mean, this is really fun. It's funny because I think it probably came from my mother, who basically raised me to believe that the only ones who got in our way were ourselves, and if you wanted to go do something, go do it. And that was it. And it was very simple. So it never dawned on me that I couldn't do whatever I wanted to do.
Yes. And, so you've witnessed a lot of changes in the world, and especially with women in particular. What kind of changes do you think that we've encountered that have been more positive for women in particular?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first thing is it always has to start with the legality. You need to make sure that the laws are on your side. And as soon as the laws are on your side, then there is some outlet. That's number one. So even though we had the Fair Pay Acts, even going back into the 60s, if there's not a critical mass of women, then you're not going to be able to get the attention. So number one is the laws. Number two, a critical mass. And the really big thing is we need men to support us.
Absolutely.
You can't just keep preaching to the choir. The change must take place. We see it with racial elements within our country. It's not just people of color who have to stand up and say this is not okay. We all have to stand up and say this is not okay. Then we have change. It's not for someone else to worry about. It's for all of us to worry about.
That's true. And we definitely have to get men on our side more than just the women on our side. I know
Right.
I network a lot with a lot of different women in different fields, and I can tell you that, we're all trying to come together, but we're not getting the men to buy in as much. And that will definitely take some time. And I remember one of your articles where you said we have to teach our boys to be girls and not just girls being boys.
Exactly. And then we have, in the sports world, the greatest slam that you can say to a man or, a sports player is you throw like a girl. Get that out of your lexicon. Don't ever say that to your little boy. I mean, that goes into your brain that, wow, the worst thing in the world is to be like a girl. Hold it.
I know. Well, I got some of each, so I understand that. How did you build this business of financial literacy for kids, and what kind of stumbling blocks did you encounter?
Well, as you said in the very beginning, it was very hard to convince anyone that it was important to do this. And I started and created the topic of kids and money in the mid-'80s. And if you're going to start a topic, you better go to the largest publishing house in the world if you're going to be the expert and do this. And it was Simon & Schuster. And their response to me was, there are no books, it's therefore not a topic of interest. So I had to do proof of concept. So the proof of concept was opening up the First Children's Bank at FAO Schwartz in 1988, and also an Institute for Youth Entrepreneurship up in Harlem to work with at-risk kids. And we started a greeting card business with those kids, and they had to literally learn how to run every aspect of the business, and then they could vest into it and take it over and own it. And that was very successful, and then so was the First Children's Bank, but they needed to be educated as well. And then even with the proof of concept, Simon & Schuster said, well, there still are no books. And, as you said, I knew how to do leverage buyouts, so it was like there's got to be another way to do this. And as an entrepreneur, you have to sort of look to the right and look to the left and keep moving forward. So I knew how to do leverage buyouts. I knew how to buy and sell companies. So I bought a publishing company. I bought a division of Macmillan, doing a leveraged buyout, and just kept going.
And you learned that from your banking days?
I learned it from my banking days. I was lucky enough at Chase to actually put together the largest merger in the history of the United States at that point,
Incredible.
the DuPont-Conoco merger. And that was in 1980, and that was literally the largest that had ever been done. So if I could do that, okay, I could do this.
Well, you are certainly an inspiration to me, for sure, because I have a lot in my mind that I want to really accomplish in my life. And if I could accomplish a quarter of what you've done, I think I've done a really good job.
No, you're sweet. Just keep going. You're talented. You're bright. You're wonderful. Do it. And my thing is design it and do it. There was a need and I fulfilled it, and let's just keep going, and that's it.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks, Neil. Next week, we'll be talking about how kids react to learning about money matters. I'm Dina Coburn, and this is Fun with Finances,